Welcome to the Trend Detection Podcast, powered by Siemens. And now your host, Niall Sullivan.
Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Trend Detection Podcast. I'm really pleased we've got a very special guest on today, someone who actually appeared on the Trend Detection Podcast when we were just Senseye, but now part of Siemens. I'm really excited to invite back Joseph Starwood from Microsoft back. And we're talking about, I think, well, as you'll find out in a minute when Joe introduces himself, but a very a topic he knows very, very well. So both mining, technology, AI, and we're going to cover all this today. Basically, digital transformation in mining, what's happening now, and what we can look at, what's coming up, I guess, as one, and the current trends, of course. But before we sort of dive into the topic, I'll just hand over to Joe and just to introduce yourself. So over to you, Joe.
Certainly. Pleasure to be here with you, Niall. Pleasure to do a podcast with you again. So I'm Joe Starwood, and I have been with Microsoft almost 13 years now. I serve as our worldwide mining industry leader. So I have the great honor of collaborating with and supporting our mining clients and partners around the world. By way of background, I actually originally started out as an exploration geologist and geophysicist, prospecting for copper, gold, silver, and molybdenum in the western U.S.
Excellent. So I would suggest that you're a very well-placed person to talk about this topic today, which is why we invited you on, of course.
I've had the opportunity to learn a great deal from our clients and partners and the challenges that they face every day.
Well, I mean, let's start there, shall we? You know, as you sort of leading into it. So what are sort of the current challenges you see in mining at the moment? What's sort of top of mind?
There are a great number of challenges, but if we really put it in the context of digital transformation and AI transformation, which are very important right now, I would say three things stand out for the mining industry. First of all, digital effectiveness. In fact, EY in a recent article pointed out that digital effectiveness is the number one risk for miners today. And that also digital maturity and the data foundation are very important as well. Boston Consulting Group in a recent article pointed out that miners need to start treating data like a valuable asset, just like they treat their properties, their equipment, their infrastructure, and so forth. And they also need to develop their digital maturity. In fact, Boston Consulting Group pointed out that the mining industry is about 30 to 40% less mature than peer industries. And these things really hinder miners from getting value from their existing data, from executing successful digital transformation, and then leveraging that power of artificial intelligence to overcome the challenges that we're facing today.
And you mentioned the word that sort of jumped at me immediately was this word risk. So what do you mean by sort of risk in that context?
So the real risk in the context of digital transformation and AI transformation is that, number one, miners are not able to transform their data into the real-time, in-context insights that they need to make better decisions. And then those decisions have downstream risks, whether it be not taking the right action for safety, not doing the right preemptive or predictive maintenance in order to prevent unwanted downtime, or optimizing the recovery of minerals. There's many different downstream risks, but the primary risk is not converting data in real time into those in-context insights that we need to make the right decisions.
Yeah, and you talked about data and and making the best out of data. And you've also mentioned AI, which is primarily if we talk about Senseye alone, it's the use case for turning your data into something really valuable. What sort of examples of the transport using data and using AI together to create insights could you give in the mining industry?
So I can think of an obvious case study. It actually comes from Siemens and their Senseye unit. A while back, they worked with a major aluminum miner and manufacturer to enhance their operations using the Senseye Predictive Maintenance solution. And this renowned aluminum company produces bauxite, alumina, and aluminum products. And it really wanted to boost its operational efficiency, minimize unplanned downtime, and really shift from planned maintenance to predictive maintenance. They implemented the Senseye Predictive Maintenance solution, and they leveraged machine learning algorithms to monitor over 10,000 machines. And this included everything from robots to conveyors to pumps. And this was done without the need for extensive new sensors and installation of those. And the results were quite remarkable. The unplanned downtime was reduced by 20%, operating efficiencies improved, maintenance costs decreased, and the project was very successful. It showed a return on investment in around 4 to 6 months. So, I think that's a great way to show the example of leveraging your data to get value and using artificial intelligence, in this case machine learning, to solve a really big challenge and get some great benefits.
And do you see the mining industry, I guess, in general, set up in a way, to achieve these kind of benefits? Obviously, you've just shared an example, so the answer is partly yes. But more broadly than that, are they in a position to really achieve similar results?
Well, again, going back to the big challenges that we face around the data foundation, digital maturity, digital effectiveness, a key element I would add to that is the need to have a culture of data and a culture of security. A recent article around mining in Australia pointed out that miners overall were about 40% less prepared for modern cyber threats than peer industries. So there's a lot of work we need to do. Cyber threats are actually becoming more frequent. They're also gaining a great deal of sophistication. So the challenge for mining companies as we begin to integrate IT and OT together and try to get those real-time actionable insights is we have to secure not only the data, but also our infrastructure. We have to protect our assets and the people working around those assets. So I think a culture of data and a culture of security is really, really important.
In terms of those cyber threats, so you said mining industry is particularly vulnerable, or maybe particularly vulnerable to that. What's the reason behind that?
It's multiple. Some of it has to do with the legacy applications that are still out there. Some of it has to do with legacy equipment. Some of the equipment, it was designed and installed in a period of time where we did not have widespread IT and OT integration, so it's not quite ready for the modern cyber landscape and the threat landscape. And some of it is also human. We still see a lot of human behaviors. In fact, the number one security asset any organization has in any industry is its people. We have to have that security culture, that security mindset, in order to protect ourselves, our company, our colleagues, our clients, our partners. Very, very important. And that's perhaps the most challenging thing is developing that culture and that deep mindset where it's a daily action.
And you mentioned IT and OT there. So what are the specific challenges around that sort of concept that affect the mining industry?
So right now, I would say one of the big challenges is that our mining clients are really looking for guidance on how to best do IT, OT, and do that in relationship to the cloud, along with the unique challenges they have with remote operations, geographical boundaries, data sovereignty regulations, and so forth. So right now here at Microsoft, we're actually collaborating with Siemens and Senseye and many other mining clients and partners around preparing a reference model for a secure, Purdue model aligned IT/OT reference model. So not say right now a full-blown reference architecture, but providing guidance, support, citations to the right standards, even examples of how clients and partners are actually accomplishing secure, Purdue model aligned IT/OT integration in a cloud context. Does that help?
No, it does. It does. And it's interesting what you mentioned about sort of the partner ecosystem. Obviously, Microsoft a very, very important part of that. But how important is this sort of partner ecosystem to achieving what you described?
So the partner ecosystem is, I believe, really the way of the future in mining. We're already seeing many mining clients and partners adopting open industry ecosystems. In mining, we call them open mining ecosystems. Number one, this can really be very valuable in terms of opening up opportunities to get value from data across corporate boundaries and do it in a secure, private, contractualized way that's digitally enforced. But it also can have a great deal to do with cybersecurity. The culture of security goes beyond just your own organization and the people that you work with directly. We have seen many organizations. The first one I saw was in oil and gas, where they developed a cybersecurity ecosystem where partners, vendors, and other parties all participated in a level of visibility, transparency, and commitment to a level of cybersecurity standards. So that's the ecosystem is really multifaceted and a very valuable component going forward, not only from achieving business outcomes but from protecting the enterprise as we go forward.
And to go, I guess, to jump back to a point you made earlier, which related to this, you mentioned there's a reliance on sort of legacy systems. Is that what you perceive as like a threat to this, to this joined up cybersecurity approach? A lack of movement away, potentially away from these systems.
The legacy systems, where they're present, certainly can present a unique challenge. I think the question of moving away from them really has to be handled on a case-by-case basis. What is the right way to mitigate the risk and achieve the desired business outcome? We're in a capital-intensive industry. We have very long timelines in terms of life of mine and life of assets, and we have to use our funds very, very wisely. So if there's a safe, secure way to mitigate a risk, short of a complete replacement, that makes sense. Other times, a complete replacement or overhaul is the right answer there. So I think it's a case-by-case basis.
And I guess when you talk about digital transformation more broadly, it's part of there's a bigger picture and there's a longer journey of all this. You don't need to do everything immediately, right? It can be part of a much longer journey.
Well, I think that's a really important element that you're bringing forward here, because digital transformation is definitely not something that is once and done. We've actually been doing digital transformation since the earliest computers came out, since our first days of digital in the world. It's an ongoing journey, and it's a journey that needs to be charted uniquely for each organization. And within the organization, I can tell you that even within different business units or department, charting their journey as well is unique and important. And digital transformation, as well as AI transformation, are not just a technical transformation. They're actually a really critical and imperative business transformation. It's really fundamentally, how can we reshape the business to achieve more and achieve better through digital technologies, through artificial intelligence, through data that we couldn't before. So yes, legacy technologies can certainly be a hindrance, but the bigger thing, the more challenging thing above it all is really having that leadership and direction to transform and transform the whole business.
Yeah, and so are you saying, I don't want to put words into your mouth, Joe, but are you saying that this needs to be driven from the top? This kind of fundamental change, or is it one of these things where everyone needs to be on board with it? What would you say about that?
Well, everyone needs to be on board, but it does take leadership to really set the direction and drive and realize the desired outcomes for the enterprise. One of my favorite books is called Leading Digital, and I've used it and referred to it for years now. It is an absolutely wonderful book on how to really lead digital transformation, top down, bottom up, middle out, and get to where you're going in an effective way, managing your risks, realizing value in an incremental way, transforming your culture as you go. I love the book.
Yeah, and so maybe dive into that a bit more. So what were your sort of key takeaways from it, in terms of what you could apply in this sort of context we're talking about today?
So I think right now the apparent opportunity for those mining organizations that are, say, below the curve right now in terms of data foundation, digital effectiveness, digital maturity, is for leadership to really step up and set the direction to have a culture that is a culture of data, a culture of security, to transform the business using data, and to inculcate that vision and the hope and the excitement to get there throughout the organization, to put in place the leadership and the mechanisms that allow people to change their knowledge and their behaviors. Effective change management is important, and to really find that path forward that incrementally realizes value, because people need to see wins internally, but then this is a big investment, and of course shareholders need to see wins as well. So it's a big challenge, but if you're going to be effective going forward as a mining organization in the very complex reality that we have today, you really do need to catch up on your digital transformation and AI transformation.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned AI transformation as well, because I guess what's also interesting are mining companies sort of aware of the power of AI, and I guess what I mean by that is the many different use cases which they can apply and really benefit. And you mentioned the data, utilizing your data, but there's so many different ways in which they can do that.
Yes. So I would say first, there is a very unique difference between digital transformation and AI transformation. On the digital transformation side, we really are fundamentally transforming the business with just the digital technology itself. And while AI, especially since about a decade ago, has started to play a role in that, we now see AI transformation really doing some amazing things in terms of augmenting human capabilities, peering into data and drawing insights that humans by themselves can't, dealing with complexity on a scale that humans cannot with a handful of spreadsheets and applications. We're in an extraordinarily complex mining environment in terms of the number of goals and requirements and regulations and legislations and so forth, and the constraints that we have. It's very complex. It draws on artificial intelligence, and so we're seeing AI transformation bring value across the life cycle, in real time, in transforming the workforce, and in reshaping mining ecosystems. So those are the four transformative themes that we at Microsoft are seeing, and this is the real potential, I think, of that AI transformation.
Yeah, that's interesting, and it is interesting that you separate the two, because often, maybe even myself would put the two together. Is that, I guess, what's the main sort of thought process behind that? If we dig in a little bit more.
So I think, in my mind, the thought process there is really twofold. One is that AI transformation really could not take hold in a powerful way unless there was a good degree of digital transformation in place. And this goes back again to the points raised by EY and Boston Consulting Group around the data foundation, digital maturity, digital effectiveness. So there is this prerequisite layer of digital transformation. And then the second thing, I think, around AI transformation is those four elements that I pointed out that are significantly different than digital transformation of processes or small groups of processes, as we have seen. Take, for instance, predictive maintenance. I love this one as an example of the difference. In digital transformation, we can use AI, and we have for a number of years, to do predictive and preemptive maintenance. However, it will work and it's good, but what its difficulty is that it has a great challenge when you get above that level, when you start to get to maintenance and repair operations optimization, when you are doing something that is an umbrella over many different maintenance operations on many different equipment types, each of which may have its own predictive and preemptive maintenance algorithms, and doing that umbrella in the context of, well, we have a mine plan and a mine schedule, we have inventory, and we have procurement, we have various contractual relations with suppliers and partners who are doing part of our maintenance and repair operations. At a digital transformation level, that's very, very difficult to achieve. Just say, if I want to optimize crusher performance on a cone crusher and optimize the predictive maintenance for that cone crusher. I'm not addressing really those bigger, more umbrella things, and optimizing how maintenance and repair as a capability is optimized and achieves a good value for the organization. Does that help clarify that difference?
No, it does. It does. And I think that's a really interesting way to position it as well. Because yeah, like I say, it's very easy to bundle everything together under digital transformation. I mean, digital transformation is broad enough. So I think it's quite, and AI is such a big topic in itself. I think it's actually on that, even that basic level, it's sensible to separate the two and understand the differences, where they work together. And just on, a subtopic, I guess, of AI as well, with Gen AI becoming now more and more, use cases are popping up all over the place, including a bit of a plug here, but for Senseye Predictive Maintenance, we announced our own co-pilot last week, a live event, which you can see listen to on the podcast. And obviously Microsoft knows, knows very much about co-pilots as well. But do you see in the mining world that adopting more of sort of natural language technologies to assist them?
So absolutely, I think we see broader adoption of generative AI. We have seen excitement and piloting of use cases in generative AI at a faster pace than we ever saw with digital transformation in mining. I've been part of that journey here with Microsoft for nearly 13 years, and miners, of course, were a bit behind other organizations, other industries in terms of digitizing various aspects of their enterprise. But with AI, especially generative AI, they have jumped in at an unprecedented level and enthusiasm. They're trying it out on a wide number of use cases, and I think the potential is still relatively untapped because we start out thinking about the use cases that are familiar to us and the way we do business today. The next level of potential is how could we do business differently? What are the use cases we don't yet think about when we have that new transformed way of doing business? So there's still a tremendous amount of potential out there as we, get our feet wet in generative AI.
And the reason I'm thinking of this question is actually one of the reasons. One of the reasons why we developed our own co-pilot was actually this issue customers are having. When we speak to customers, they're talking about expertise. Experts been there for a long time, leaving the business, retiring, or leaving, or changing jobs, or otherwise. So that knowledge leaves. All that maintenance knowledge just leaves the business. And I guess other co-pilots as well. We're using it as a way to capture the information and then surface that obviously at the right time when required. But it's a long-winded way of asking the mining industry again is sort of knowledge loss. People leaving the industry, is that a real challenge as well as in the manufacturing sector?
Knowledge loss in the mining industry is certainly a challenge. It's actually one that I've been addressing with our clients and partners since I joined Microsoft. It's been a long-standing concern and a serious challenge. Recently, in fact, in this month's issue of Mining Engineering from the Society of Mining Metallurgy and Exploration, SME, there's a brief article on the workforce challenge that we're facing. Half of our mining workforce is set to retire by 2029. So not only do we have potential for knowledge loss, we have the raw potential for loss of skilled workers. So right now there's a huge opportunity in terms of how do we use AI and how do we use automation to do more of the work that these employees were doing. How can we take the employees that we still have today and have them work more safely on higher value activities and tasks, leaving the routine and the risky to machinery.
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, that's a great advocate for why to use technology and AI and other technologies. Does the technology also serve as a way to attract like a new generation into, say, in the mining industry as well? Because these cool technologies, everyone wants to use cool technology, right?
Yes, absolutely. as mining organizations digitize and as they are using the newer digital transformation and AI transformation capabilities, they certainly appear more attractive to uh, younger workers that are looking for opportunities. But also, I would say one of the key things we have seen is the idea of remote work and hybrid work has really opened up an opportunity for people to participate at a distance in the mining activity and not go to those remote locations. You know, many younger folks say, hey, I want to be around my friends. I want to be able to go to the nightclubs. I want to have a social life. I want to be near family, near schools. And remote work and hybrid work really create that opportunity. We've also seen in the case of a case study around BHP here at Microsoft that remote work actually helped them advance their diversity and inclusion objectives. So I think it's a win-win to use that. As far as the labor shortage itself, I would say we really need to do everything we can to leverage our data, capture the knowledge that we have, and get that into algorithms and processes and procedures that allow us to carry on forward. And one of the other interesting insights I had was yesterday. I was on a call and Robert McEwen, McEwen Mining was on, and he said something really interesting around employer of choice in mining. And it's great to do all these technologies, but he said, you know, you've got to have also the environment. When you walk in the door, are you walking into an old, beat up, dirty mill that's, you know, dusty and smelly and doesn't even look modern? Or are you walking into an environment that is digital and it has a vibe and an energy to it? And I think, again, this might go back to that culture of data, culture of security thing we talked about is, are we creating that culture also in our environment, not just with the tools, not just saying, well, here's a tool, we're now, you know, we should all be employer of choice. I don't think it's as simple as that. I think it's much more how we transform our business to attract and keep that talent. Hope that helps.
No, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can see the challenges of, like I said, I think something you don't even consider actually is having just a workplace, a modern looking workplace. But I mean, that's not an easy thing to turn around, is it? I mean, in the short term, especially when they've got so many other priorities.
Well, I think this is where things like your remote operation centers, your integrated remote operation center, hybrid work, remote work, partnerships with universities, all create opportunities to have that kind of a work experience for the digitally enabled workers, not necessarily having to go and clean up legacy things, legacy plants, for instance. If you can automate it, great. If you can make it remote, teleremote, that's great. All these things could help.
Yeah, exactly. And then AI, if you do move to fully remote, I could think of customers I've spoken to, Senseye customers who they consider Senseye like a virtual maintenance assistant. So their site is very remote and they can't get to it. Just drive to it and get to it very easily. And so they see Senseye as something that's is continuously monitoring and gives them the indications. When something might need to be checked, and then they can plan their maintenance in that way. So from that remote, I'm just talking about that remote perspective, I guess it's important.
Earlier, you were asking, about legacy technologies. And I think we also have a kind of a different risk at the other end of the spectrum. We tend to talk about artificial intelligence and automation and IoT as being emerging technologies. And I think that both of these technologies, AI and IoT, have progressed well beyond that stage. As we discussed earlier, artificial intelligence started being used in mining over a decade ago. The work concentrated on autonomous vehicles and haulage systems, and then expanded into predictive and preemptive maintenance. And at the same time, they started really using and embracing IoT. They had to for these autonomous systems. And that kind of technology has been around. IoT has been around since 1999. So if we think about AI, we should really view it as a rapidly developing technology, and we should view IoT as a mature technology. And this has some implications in terms of how we manage risk and how we proceed with projects in digital and AI transformation. If we treat each of these technologies where they really are in the maturity curve, then we're making much better decisions about risk and investment. So I think this is another challenge we need to overcome, and is just not use the term emerging technologies with AI and IoT.
Yeah, and actually you could. Not that I want to describe predictive maintenance as well. Predictive maintenance is interesting because I recorded a podcast yesterday, and someone made, the person I was interviewing made the point predictive maintenance isn't the technology; it's actually a methodology for for maintenance. We just apply technology to help enable predictive maintenance, if that makes sense. But but I guess my point was, would you put predictive maintenance in that same bracket as well? Because
I think that's kind of a split topic there, because I'm not certain what you're seeing, but with the various mining clients and partners that I've been exposed to in recent years, let's say the last half decade or so, I'm hearing that perhaps 30% of the equipment that ought to be subject to AI-enabled, AI-powered predictive maintenance has been done so. And about 70% of what ought to be done has not yet been done. So I think there's still some real potential out there for predictive and preemptive maintenance powered by AI. I don't know, what are you seeing in that respect?
I guess from my point of view, I learned so much from these interviews. It's just amazing. I've been in this industry with Senseye and now Siemens for 3 years, but this term predictive maintenance has just sort of exploded. When I first started, it was felt a bit more niche to me in terms of relating it to technology. But where we are today, I see the term. If I go to a trade show and walk around, I see every software, even partially related. A lot of it could be condition monitoring, but it's being called predictive maintenance just because it's that word. And what that happens is it confuses obviously buyers in the market. What's real predictive maintenance versus condition monitoring? What should I buy? But it's harder for me as a marketer to actually market something like that. So that's I guess my perspective.
Yeah, I can relate to your experience. In the almost 13 years I've been with Microsoft, predictive maintenance started out being a leading edge thing. It's a way that miners were getting into digital transformation and into early AI. And I would say probably about 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, it really converted to being table stakes. That's the other side of that topic I mentioned. It's the second side is that at this point, it's for many organizations, it ought to be treated as table stakes. It's mature. We know how to do it. The solutions are out there. They've been out there for years. So I think that on one hand, we still have a lot of opportunity to apply this technology. On the other hand, it is a mature technology.
Exactly. And I guess I want a couple of areas we haven't covered today, because if we think about, we're talking about digital transformation, but again, because we're on the predictive maintenance topic, often we talk about, in terms of business outcomes, it's saving unplanned downtime, and obviously production, because we know how production stoppage is a huge, cost, and helping maintenance teams work more precisely, so when they've got lots of machines to look after, they can focus on the ones that actually require attention and all these outcomes. But what's often, I guess, what's probably more prevalent, I was trying to say the word, but what's probably more of a focus maybe in the heavy industry or mining industry is we're talking about environmental factors, we're talking about health and safety factors. And so maybe, Joe, you could sort of outline some of the technology that can help with those, obviously critical. It goes without saying how critical that is to be introduced.
For safety, health, and environment, the technology is critical, but more critical is the business leadership decision to do something about it. One of the things I love about the whole space of physical equipment and the predictive maintenance, the maintenance and repair operations that goes with it, is that it highlights for us where we have enormous low-hanging fruit to do digital transformation and AI transformation in mining. We still go out to mine sites and we still see people doing manual recording of data off of equipment. They're operating in high-risk environments. We still see people doing paper-based recording. We see spurious spreadsheets that may or may not actually get data up to the core systems. The data may or may not even ever be used other than to print a graph out. And we see still a lot of disconnected, siloed systems that are not connected to the core systems where that data can be brought together and in that artificial intelligence umbrella, really determine what the right insights are to make the right decisions. So one of the things I see for mining executives who want to do more is look for where do we have manual processes, where do we have paper-based processes, where are we using spurious spreadsheets. That is amazing low-hanging fruit. And if you can't make a business case financially for automating those and to get the data connected and into your core systems, you can do so on safety, health, and environment. Because I have yet in nearly 13 years to go into a mine site or a mill and not see paper-based, manual, spreadsheet-based activities that place humans in high-risk environments. Every one of those is a high-risk situation, a very arguable case for a safety outcome.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's no price on safety or environmental concerns, is there?
Multiple safety, health, and environment, but clearly safety. If you're doing manual readings, if you're out there with paper and pencil, if you're putting things in spreadsheets, it means that you are in a high-risk environment. We can lower that risk. We can help people work more safely.
Yeah, I just find that incredible. But I guess it's if you move into like manufacturing or whatever, there'll be similar. Sometimes less harsh environments, but I think it's more about the paper-based or spreadsheet-based monitoring. I just find that amazing in this day and age that's still those companies still in that area.
Yes, and I think some executives might be shocked at what they find out about their data. I had the opportunity to work with a South Asian mining company, and one of the things that they do is at the end of the day, after 3 shifts, they have a verbal stand-up reporting session on how the 3 shifts in the day went. And one of the things that the mine general manager shared after our session was that it's really disappointing because half of the data that they get at the end of the day stand-up verbal meeting is incorrect. In other words, the data they're getting is going into planning and scheduling and various business decisions for the next day and the next 3 shifts, and half of it's wrong. We also went to a mining company a while back, and the first shift did a wonderful job of recording. It was paper-based. They did a wonderful job of recording all their operational parameters. Second shift came in and copied the first shifts. The third shift came in and copied the second shifts. So a lot of the data that's out there isn't data that executives think it is.
Yeah, and I guess it's harder to identify that, what data is and what data isn't if it's in spreadsheet, or at least it takes a lot longer. It's a lot more of a manual effort because again, AI can work that out in minutes, seconds, depends how much data, I guess. So
yeah.
There's a big risk.
A great way to find out, though, is actually go out on the floor. On that same call that I was on yesterday, there was a woman who was an executive with a major mining company. When she took over and was asked to transform and turn that company around, she actually went out on the floor. She was out in the mill. She was out in the mine site. She was underground, and she did it in all different shifts: first shift, second shift, third shift. The workers were amazed to see her, but she learned so much as to how things were really happening versus how people thought they were happening. So it's actually easy to find out what's really going on.
No, absolutely. So I think we're sort of coming towards the end of our conversation. We've covered so much, and of course, I always say, I hope that I know that the listeners will have gained a lot, and I've certainly gained a lot. I always learn a lot from these podcasts. But what we like to do, Joe, at the end of our podcast, you might remember from what we did in another life, but it's sort of summarise where we are today. And I guess our conversation today, maybe we could focus it on, what should mining companies be thinking about now when it comes to digital transformation? What do you think should be at the top of their minds?
Certainly the first thing that should be at the top of their minds is people. Mining is a people business. Basically, all businesses are people business, and what we need to do is figure out how do we take data and digital technology and artificial intelligence and turn that into the insights and the tools that enable those people to work smarter, work better, and work more safely. So I think that people is a starting point for sure. I think from a practical standpoint of getting going, the second thing would be get out there, look at what's really going on in your operations, tackle that low-hanging fruit, the manual processes, the spurious spreadsheet processes, paper-based processes, equipment that should be under predictive maintenance but is not yet under predictive maintenance, because that's another high-risk thing for workers. Start there, because what that's going to do is it's going to help you build your data foundation. At the same time you're building your digital effectiveness and your digital maturity, which were big risks that we talked about early on. So I think if I sum it up, those would be the two areas I would tackle first.
Excellent advice, and excellent takeaways as well. But yes, so I guess for today, and we're coming to a close. But if people want to find out or learn more about what you're doing and doing with Microsoft, Joe, I guess they can follow you on LinkedIn. Is probably the best place. Or
they can certainly follow me on LinkedIn, and they can also look up our mining website page on Microsoft.com. There are 2 white papers that we have out there. We have last year's white paper on digital transformation in mining, and this year we did a companion paper on artificial intelligence and AI transformation in mining. Both of these papers, I think, really reinforce what you and I have talked about, Niall, and give deeper insights and practical insights, use cases and case studies as to how this relates.
Fantastic. No, thank you for mentioning that. So yeah, we'll make sure those are included in the resources of this podcast, so people can go and download them and learn a bit more. So for today, thank you so much, Joe, for your time and sharing your expertise with our audience. And I'd like to thank everyone out there for listening, wherever you are in the world, and see you on the next episode. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I've truly enjoyed this session with you. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
Cheers, all.
Please like and subscribe on all major podcast channels, and find out more about Senseye Predictive Maintenance at Siemens.com.